Tripura, Jishnudev Varman, one of the most dynamic leaders that I know in the Northeast. We have with us Mr. Radhesham Singh, Honorable Minister for Education, Government of Manipur. Your contribution towards the development of education is immense. Your valuable inputs will definitely help us setting the tone of today's discussion. I take this opportunity to thank you for giving us the opportunity also to interact with you. We're also joined by Rajat Banerjee, a good friend and also president of Amway, who has done a lot of work actually in the Northeast for connectivity and delivery of people during difficult times over the last 20 years, I think, if not more. He's actually pioneered a lot of work, and I'd urge all of you to be and meet with him. We also have amongst us eminent educationists, including Professor Satyadev Podar, Vice Chancellor Maharaj Bir Bikram University, Dr. Charavak from Assam University. He's also an eminent journalist from the region. Thank you for being with us. We have amongst us Dr. Chavi Asrani from the Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations, Dr. Pranjal Fukan, Chief Manager, BPCL, and also last but not least, Pradeep Dwivedi, an expert from the sector. I welcome you all to this webinar, who will speak to us later.
Expert from the sector.
Namaskar.
I welcome you all to this webinar and will speak to us later in the session. Many other prominent educationists from the region have joined us, students, research scholars, entrepreneurs, consultants who are joining in the discussion. We had, as of yesterday, we have changed the technology, but as of yesterday, we had over 500 or 600 people who had already registered for this event, which shows that all of you all are very popular. At least they're looking to you for solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are passing through difficult times, as we all know. It's overstated maybe. And our education system, including schools, colleges, and universities and other training institutes, are experiencing unprecedented challenges. Least of all, the outbreak of COVID-19. These institutes are the first ones who decided to choose to close down on precautionary measure, not to spread the virus among students. Probably we did very well in doing that because the accountability on COVID count from younger people and students have been nipped in the bud. Having said that, there are quite a few innovative solutions that have come up and started classes to interact all these couple of months. I have personally been involved in the starting of two institutes of eminence in the Northeast. One is the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and the other is IIIT Guwahati. Both of them, I'm the founder, first person who got involved with laying the bricks. And then, of course, others have taken over. I'm still involved on the board of both. And both of them we have successfully transferred to digital learning, and it has been absolutely phenomenal, the kind of uptake. In fact, in IIIT, in the IIIT, we are meaning almost going to give PhD degrees. Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sharma, in both cases, has been a good friend, and it was his initiative many years ago when he was Education Minister in 2012 and 13 that we started both these institutes, and now they're flourishing and, in fact, very successful. So digital seems to be one of the ways. I strongly believe, however, there's a new opportunity for the Northeast, and all the states, each one of the states have a very strong opportunity. And this opportunity is really what I call the hub for Asia. The hub for Asia is very important. What does that mean? Just like the BPO revolution took place, I think there's a very big revolution that is going to take place here. The BPO revolution of education and healthcare. So healthcare tests from all over the world.
I think we are again facing a bit of a technical glitch. Mr. Thakur is not audible. I think Mr. Bhattakur is facing a bit of a technical glitch. He is not audible. So instead of delaying, I think we should like to move on. May I invite the Honorable Minister from Manipur, uh, Mr. Thokcham Radhesham Singh, who kindly deliver his address. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Information technology units. So if
Yeah,
all
I
the
think
states in the
he
north,
is back.
if all the states, sorry, am I speaking to myself or
We lost you in
Biswajit?
between, sir. We lost you in
Oh,
between, but you're back now.
okay. So I don't know where, up to where did I speak? I don't know. Where did you
Please
get
carry
me?
on, sir.
Huh?
Please carry on, sir. I think it's okay now.
Okay. So I think it's very important. Did I speak about the Asian hub? That all states become the Asian hub for education and the BPO
I
for
think you could
education.
repeat that, sir.
I've said that, Biswajit.
No, it'll be good if you can repeat that, sir.
So I said that the Northeast can become, each state-wise must be able to have their own garner a BPO for education and BPO for healthcare. In healthcare, it is about diagnostics and reading and doing the analytics. And in terms of education, it is about personal coaching and subject-wise. But it is very important that the states actually understand where they want to be in 2030 and 2050. Because if you don't have a plan, you will not be able to create engineers or doctors like India has created from 1950 to 2015. So I think this whole shift of understanding what the state wants and where you want to be will determine what kind of education you want. And that linked with all the Southeast Asian countries. Because Asia, whether whatever political skirmish there may be now, and it's not for me to comment on all of that, at least at this forum, is that it is very important to understand India will play a very important role in the Asian subcontinent. And I'm calling the Asian subcontinent and not a continent. I'm including all the countries right up to Vietnam in the larger sort of influence of Asia. And I just believe that this whole ecosystem and this whole region would be very much linked to this whole thing of the BPO for the world. And I think the Northeast can actually easily be there. There are some very important ideas that we need to have. We have a 10-point program, and this is what I've been trying to preach. In fact, one is there's a very big wealth gap which is happening between sort of society, which is really the social mobility issue. There are three very big fundamentals that will take place in terms of electoral demands, irrespective of however the political system weans out to be. Is one is universal basic income, one is universal basic education, one is universal basic healthcare, and one is basic universal basic food. If these four are not given, no governments over time will be able to resist in a 5 to 10 year period the kind of movement that there will be. So wealth gap has to be addressed in the education system. The rise of Asian as a consumer. So therefore, there's big consumerism opportunity for us. Biswajit, can you all hear me, or am I just speaking to myself? Biswajit.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go on, sir.
Okay. Then the migration on increase. So migration, despite whatever we are saying, and not about migrant labor, people are much more moving in terms of just India. But I'm saying people will start moving also in Asia over the next 15, 20 years. Starting from after post-COVID, there will be a movement again. Then there will be a, what do you call, big dearth of debt. All states and individuals will have a big challenge of debt, and the education sector will have a big challenge in terms of funding and money. And unless they have these creative BPO situations in all universities, because now universities you can learn from home. Knowing India, knowing the Northeast, it may take 10, 15 years lag time before it catches up, but this is an opportunity that we can actually leapfrog this. We need to actually also understand that robotics is going to become very important. So either we create first class human beings or we'll have second class robots to take over all our jobs. So we actually must understand this challenge. Then we have to understand that life skills, lessons for life will become an important subject to deliver. Then online and offline, that's a debate that I talked about. There's no question about it. A lot of offline and online mixture will happen, and digital learning will become, meaning the way of life as it is now. And then I think teaching values, I think teachers themselves understand that they have to teach values. What are the basics of life? And how will this happen? The whole Guru Shiksha Connect will be very much more opening up. The Guru Shiksha one-to-one. What does the student want? It won't be just that I'm the student and you are the teacher. This is what we will learn. These are the exams. There's a whole paradigm shift. I have 2 video clips actually, but I don't think technology will allow. But we'll send it to you. It's worth seeing at 2-3 minutes, where it shows you what is the future of education, and it gives you a very good way to think about it. I think these are the new opportunities. I would not call it a problem for the human advancement. The future has become much more uncertain and unpredictable. However, we can, with our own frameworks, predict it if we know where we want to go in 2030 and where we want to go in 2050. A rough idea, difficult to know where we want to go even for a day more than today. But reality is that we need to actually look at it there. The schools and education now need to prepare for students for jobs that have yet to be created. So therefore, the biggest challenge is creating employment and employability are both going to go hand in hand. So I think our education system is not geared, and that bridge is really a big problem. The last but not least, I will just say this because of the connectivity. I could have carried on with more plans for each states actually, and I'm happy to connect with you separately. That students from Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Congo, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Angola, Cameroon, all these are online students, but they can become offline campus students also. I don't see why Pune should be the only attraction, or Chandigarh, or Bombay for that matter. But these smaller cities are attracting. I think the Northeast must become a hub for at least the connected areas for our geographies. I think with that, I wish you all the best for this. The Northeast can truly become a hub of education and research in India. And if you ask me what should be your structural policy, I think the structural policy for economics has only one framework in my mind, and that is you need great connectivity, and that connectivity will carry on for 10, 20 years, all rail, road, river, air. I think this is absolutely a must, because otherwise there's no point in talking development. Second is we must have a very good framework for agroforestry. And agroforestry and agriculture are linked. Agroforestry is the way forward. I also think that there is another very good opportunity in the form of total tourism, both ethnic, agriculture tourism, forest tourism. We don't have to think of tourism. So I just believe that tourism, agroforestry, agriculture, and connectivity, if we can in the next 20 years, next generation can take that. And in this connectivity, we will be able to actually make education and healthcare as a big hub for the world, if not for Asia and for India. Thank you and welcome. Thank you. Sorry about this connectivity. I hope we have better connectivity next time. Thank you, sir, for all of you all attending and supporting us in this initiative. Thank you, ma'am.
May I now invite Mr. Radhesham Singh, the Honorable Minister of Education, Government of Manipur, to kindly deliver his special address. Welcome, sir.
Sri Jishnu Ranjit.
Sir, you are muting yourself again and again.
I have some problem with it. Is it okay now? It's okay.
Yeah. Yes, it is okay now, sir.
Yeah, we can.
Audible now.
Yes, sir, you are audible. You are audible now.
Thank you. Thank you and pranam namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Please go ahead.
Sri Jishnu Dev Burma, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister Tripura, Sri Ranjit Bor Thakur, Chairman FICCI NE Advisory Council, Sri Rajat Banerjee, Mentor FICCI, all the distinguished guests, the young minds, the enlightened scholars, sabko fir ek bar pranam. I'm very happy to be part of this online interaction program organized by Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry on the topic Future Enabling Education. NE as a hub for Asia. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes.
Very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, because I can't see anybody here, so I thought everyone is offline now. Anyway, as I said, we are very lucky that we are organizing this program. But the thing is, we keep organizing programs, seminars, webinars, then workshops, but we very rarely see any such programs being converted into ideas, being converted, transformed into action. As everybody knows, the Northeast, we have a lot of potential. The environment, the climate is very nice. People are talented. There are so many unexplored areas, and we can do wonders. We can contribute a lot in making India a greater country. मतलब महान देश बनाने में हमारा बहुत योगदान रहेगा. We can do it, and we will do it. Our young minds are very talented. But the problem is, now we are talking about future. As I understand, as I've been working in the field of education, as I understand, the education is a journey from unknown to known. From unknown to known. It's a journey. But we are talking about unknown future. When I was born, when I was a child, I never thought of these mobile handsets and the latest technology. A child who is born today, after 50 years, in which environment he or she will be living and will be, seeking a job. It's a great problem. Now, as a mentors, as a guides, as a guardians, how should we prepare for our young minds for an environment which is unknown? And the problem with us is in the Northeast, we do not have proper infrastructure. The resources are very meager. We are talking about technology. Technology is developing very fast. But the problem is right now we are encountering problems with the technology. Whether technology can be substitute for human beings. It's a big question, big challenge. Now we are making our children, young minds, like computers. We don't allow them to think. I think most important thing as a guide, as a mentor, as a teacher, as a parent is to inspire the young minds and ignite their minds so that they bring positive change. Have we been able to do that? It's a big question. We have not been able to inspire young minds. We have not been able to ignite our young minds, and we have not been able to bring positive change. So this area, I think this interaction program will discuss on this line. The magic word is relevance. The question we are going to provide, is it going to be relevant after 10 years, 20 years, 100 years? And the greatest task would be to make our young minds curious. Now, there is no curiosity. Everything is available ready-made, cut and paste. And on the other hand, the parents, the guardians, we are making them pressure cooker with a lot of demands and pressures. We need our young minds to grow freely and allow them to develop, to learn, unlearn, and relearn. How to make them curious? Let them ask why COVID is happening, why it is happening, how it is happening, what is happening, when it is happening, and where it is happening, from where it started, how, what, when, where. people, the young minds have stopped asking these questions. So I think if we want to prepare Northeast as a hub and to enable the future, if we are going to educate our young minds, we need to think on these lines. We need to inspire them. We need to ignite them. We need to bring positive change, and we need to make them curious. The problem is we are talking about technology, and it has become very addictive for young children. The very young children, they have become very addictive nowadays. So how to make a choice in applying or using technology is a big subject, and we need to guide the young children how to engage, how to use, how to select, how to make choice in using technology. I don't need to speak much because the keynote speaker has spoken a lot. When we see education in market terminology, we can see that we are going to have, market is all about demand and supply. What is the market? Market is unknown. What is demand? Demand is also unknown. Now we are going to supply. So what supply? We are going to prepare our young minds in the Northeast for the future, for the demand which is unknown. So how to prepare our children for a future which is unknown is a great task. If we collaborate, if we connect and communicate, and we also think together, we also chart out, work out strategy, then Northeast can contribute in a big way in bringing positive change and making India a greater country. With these few words, I once more thank FICCI and all the people who organized this program. I would like to thank the people who are joining, who are watching, taking part in this program also. With these few words, I close my short speech. Dhanyavad, thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful speech. Mr. Bhattakur, are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm there, but I'm putting it on mute so that the sound system is better for everybody, so that we can hear Honorable Minister. In fact, that was a very good speech. Thank you. I think you made some very good points, sir, and I think we should take note of it. In fact, I am from the paradigm of getting things done. Even during COVID, to Manipur, we have supplied a lot of COVID-free, items for prevention. Maybe you would not be knowing, but directly with your Chief Minister and Rajat and all these people. I think every single state, we have done it. And this whole education to me is very important. Maybe one by one, I need to speak to all of you to say, how can we action it? And it's not about others guiding us. It is for us to guide others, I think time has come when people like you who are so sort of forthright, honest, we must be able to find some steps to help you to actually action something. When I put TIS in Guwahati, when I put IIIT, everybody said there will be no demand, and I was a fool. Now I'm wanting to open TIS in all the northeastern states. Still there is resistance, What is there to open TIS, meaning in Manipur or in Tripura? I cannot understand why we should not do it. A branch. And now we should have online courses in all these places and launch the TIS and IIIT there. So anyway, we'll come back. We want action, not conversation only. And I'm sure there's so many eminent panelists, Pradeep, David, Dr. Charvak, Chavi, all this. We need action. When look east, touch east, feel east, all this is over. We need to do our own east, and make sure that we are successful.
Right.
So thank you for that very educative and very inspiring speech.
Yes, sir. May I now invite Honorable Deputy Chief Minister of Mr. Jishnu Dev Burman to kindly deliver the keynote address. Sir, welcome, sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Education, Government of Manipur, Sri Radheshamji, my good friend Ranjit Bhatt Thakur, who is the chairman of the Advisory Council of FICCI Northeast. I hope to see him personally, but it's good to see him virtually. And the other distinguished panelists. It's indeed an honor for me to be present on this panel and to talk about Northeast India's education hub for Asia. We are now facing a very challenging times with the pandemic creating havoc everywhere all over the world. And Assam is facing a big challenge, so is Tripura, and other states also facing some challenges. And in this time where most of the institutions are closed, educational institutions and universities, we are talking about establishing a hub for Asia. That's a wonderful thing, I think, to look ahead. To be able to look ahead even in the challenging times and plan for the future, that shows that the pandemic has not dampened our spirits. And as the Honorable Minister from Manipur was saying, I liked what he said. I put it in my way. I have heard numerous discussions everywhere in India that Northeast is a land of immense possibilities. And translate a vision into practicality. That is a challenge that faces Northeast. And when we talk of Northeast, in every meeting I go, tourism is given a lot of importance, and we feel that tourism can change the destiny of Northeast. And I have always stressed, yes, tourism is a very big potential in Northeast, but it has to be responsible. And the possibility, large possibility or huge possibility that we see today is the establishing of an educational hub in the Northeast. That is also a great possibility. And I was hearing Mr. Ranjit Bhatt Thakur speak. He covered a whole range of topics. It was wonderful. Some of it was very futuristic. And I know he's a go-getter. He's a person who can make the possibility into the possible. That is very important. And I thank him that Tata Trust has helped us out in Tripura with a whole lot of, PPE kits and ventilators and so many other things. And we hope that he'll keep his support with us. He's from the Northeast, and we are very happy to have him, a man of stature from the Northeast. Now, talking about making an education hub in Northeast, one has to see the challenges of connectivity. That is a big challenge in Northeast. After the partition of India, we came to become the periphery of India. We are very much part and parcel of the mainland. If you look at history, look at the ancient text of India, you will find that in the Mahabharata that Arjuna married from Manipur, Chitrangada, or you'll find Bhima married from Nagaland, Hirambi. So these were all, we were very much a part and parcel of the mainland, but due to the partition of India, we became the periphery or the bordering states. And today we face a huge challenge of connectivity. How do we connect? Because that is the main challenge if we are to promote tourism or to promote Northeast as a hub, educational hub. Connectivity is a must. I think Ranjit was also highlighting that point. We often hear of, Northeast becoming the gateway to Southeast Asia and East Asia and so forth. For that, connectivity is the challenge that we have to face. The first and foremost challenge for establishing tourism or for making an educational hub in Northeast, connectivity is the prime challenge. The second challenge is more or less of social in nature. We have some problems in social problems in Northeast. These need to be overcome. These need to be overcome. And Ranjit was again saying this point is a very wonderful point, that there must be a direct proportion between employability and employment. There has to be a direct connect between employability and employment. We have to create employment. And if we create employment, we don't have employable people, then again we'll have to So this is a very vital point. One is connectivity. The other social problems that we are facing of drug, of some law and order problems that needs to be solved. And the other is creating a balance between employment and employability that needs to be looked into. But I'm happy today that we are discussing this. And I think this is one of the few times or first time that we are discussing the Northeast as a possible hub for education in India. There is a possibility, immense possibility, like tourism. Like tourism is possible, so is this possible. And it will enhance the livelihood of people of all strata. If we say that tourism is labor intensive, it benefits all, so does the educational hub. Again, I will quote Ranjit, my friend, when he said, why should Pune be the educational hub? Why should Bangalore be the educational hub? Why should Dehradun be the educational hub? Why should Chandigarh be the educational hub? Why can't we? Yes, we can. For social, and cultural. These three problems need to be solved. And we can overcome many difficulties that we face today. Like tourism. Because our tourism assets our diverse culture is our tourism assets. So when these are used like any other asset, like any other natural asset or any other asset that we use, we have to use it sagaciously, judiciously, so that the development that we seek in Northeast will be sustainable development, a development that does not last for just for a few years. And today the whole world is talking about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. This is what the whole world is speaking. Earlier we used to only speak of development, and today we are speaking of sustainable development. Development that is long-term, that is permanent, that benefits all strata of society. And same thing with education. If we can use our resources judiciously, it will be possible. If we look ahead, as we are looking today, even in these pandemic times that we're looking ahead, when all the universities are mostly closed and schools are closed, colleges are closed, we are talking of establishing a educational hub. We are looking ahead. We're looking at tomorrow. We are looking for a brighter future. The pandemic has not killed our spirits. But as the Honorable Minister from Manipur said, the possibilities have to be made possible. And it's only us that we can make it possible. It is only the state governments that can make it possible to solve your problems. At the center, there was a talk of having a trilateral road between India, Burma, Thailand in the Look East policy or Act East policy. More than Act East and Do East or Look East. As Ranjit said, we have to do East or do Northeast. We have to do it ourselves. That is the challenge before us. And today we are talking of the challenges. That is a big thing also. That is also a big thing. Because earlier days, There was the NEC, Northeastern Council, and what was going on there, no one knew. Ministers from the Northeast were not so aware. We were mostly into politics and less into development. Today we are talking of development. We are talking at least of having a gateway to Asia through Northeast. We are thinking about it, trying to do something about it. We are talking about tourism potential. We are trying to explore how to use it. We are talking about establishing an educational hub in Northeast. This is the first time I think I'm attending a seminar or webinar on this matter. So we are looking ahead, trying to be innovative, looking into the future, trying to be more futuristic. But if we have to plan for the future, we have to build the present. We have to rectify something in the present, change something in the present, and only then the future becomes viable or tenable or practicable. I won't take a long time because I have to go somewhere, but it's a very interesting thing. I wish I could stay back and listen to all of you speak. I would ask someone to record it or something so I can hear it, because it's one of the first webinars or seminars that I've attended where we are talking of establishing a educational hub in the Northeast. And it's a very, I think, inspiring idea. As the Honorable Minister from Manipur has spoke about the quality of education also that we must impart to our children in Northeast. As I remember very roughly, I think education was defined in one of the best ways by Swami Vivekananda when he said, "What is education?" And he said, "That is nothing but broadening of the mind and sharpening of the intellect." Swami Vivekananda defined education in the best and most simple way, without any jargon that educationists use nowadays. It is broadening of the mind and sharpening of the intellect. And if we can do that, we have moved a long way. And I thank FICCI for organizing this webinar. And I hope to see you all again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Jishnu Dev Burman. And I think, you've touched upon a very important point, saying that can education be the new vertical other than the conversations that we have around just tourism, infrastructure, which is a must, both of them are necessary, or for that matter, agroforestry and the assets, the natural assets that you have referred to very sort of pointedly. I think it's very motivating to know that both the education minister from Manipur and a person like you not only have foresight, but also keep highlighting that what do we do in the next 24 hours, what do we do in the next 1 month, what do we do in the next 6 months. In all this COVID, the issue is that people have to keep doing. And I think I've been busier than before. And I just think all of you all have been busier than before, especially in the education field. You all have reinvented the way you deliver it. So there's no reason why actually the Northeast for healthcare or for this hub. I imagine someday, and I used to work a lot in Tripura, someday, or in Manipur, I've been from Jiribam, Jirighat, right up to Churachandpur, right up to the border of Myanmar. And when you talk about a trilateral highway, I've campaigned for it for many, many 20 years. The highway is ready, but our processes are not ready. The whole thing of how can a car go and how can a car come. All we need is the government MEA to sit down and actually sit with the government to see that the tourism traffic flows. Half of Manipur's problem, there will be challenges, will go away because of this kind of inflow from Southeast Asia. So while we are talking, we're not being able to implement the whole Sabroom bridge. That is, for 20 years we have been talking, if not more. And I'm saying the Sabroom bridge to Chittagong will give, meaning Tripura, a whole new life. So I just think that education is definitely a possibility for Asia. I think we will sit down once we can get connectivity. Minister of Manipur also said connectivity, even technological connectivity, we are so poor actually. So I think we just need to sit and make sure that we can actually take this forward and work with you all to make sure there is a success in this whole system, and we come out as winners. And I'm sure if we put the seeds or sow the seeds now, we will win. It's a question of time, but I think the direction is right. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity. Biswajit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. May I now invite Mr. Rajat Banerjee, uh, who has headed the FICCI direct selling task force as chairman for a number of years now, and currently he is a mentor of the task force. He has agreed to be here with us. Thank you, Rajat. May I invite him to deliver the vote of thanks. Rajat, over to you. Yes, your voice is a little low. I think you have to hold the microphone closer. Or something.
In terms of connectivity, I'm probably the furthest from all you gentlemen.
No, you are not audible, Rajat. Maybe it'd be better without the headphone. There's a problem with your microphone, I suppose.
Is it any better now?
Yes, very much.
Okay, great. I guess, I'm sitting here in Gurgaon and it's quite warm Gurgaon. And I extend that warmth in spirit to all the speakers who are yet to come. And I extend my hearty thanks on behalf of FICCI, Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Jishnu Dev Verma, who just spoke very clearly. And just to summarize some of his key points, though Mr. Ranjit has already captured them for us. Deputy CM, the Honorable Deputy CM did mention that it's good that we're looking ahead in challenging times, because when there's not much to do at the ground level, it's time for planning and to go back to the drawing board. Yes, tourism has always been, I did my class 12 in Guwahati in 1986, and being son of an armed forces officer, traveling this country widely. One of the most prettiest parts of the country is Northeast, and that potential is latent. It's sleeping, unfortunately. And the Honorable Deputy CM did mention about the main reason for that being connectivity. That remains a huge challenge. There are elements of social problems that the Deputy CM did mention. But with time, I know Assam from the 80s until now, the Northeast entirely, things have changed very drastically. In the rest of India, we see a lot of youngsters from Northeast, not just studying in the rest of India, but working in so many sectors in India, in the hospitality industry, etc. And there are no finer, representatives for the Northeast, other than the youngsters who come in to mainland India to work. And there's no reason why that cannot be held in reverse. And as the Deputy CM did mention, the forest resources which need to be used sagaciously, and the fact that the sustainable development goals need to be taken into mind. And he did talk about something very critically, saying that the state governments can make this possible. The combination is going to remain a challenge. It's a challenge for every state. Every state is trying to attract investments, both in terms of manpower, etc. And there's no better way of trying to attract investments other than through making and establishing an educational hub in Northeast. Because what do youngsters really look for when they go to, let's say, a Pune or a Dehradun? They look for high quality education institutes like Mr. Ranjit Thakur spoke about this and IIIT in Northeast. He's helping to spread it to other states in Northeast. That's a fantastic way to spread or to attract youth into Northeast. And believe me, for most of us in the other parts of India, Northeast is an attractive place without any doubt. So thank you, the Honorable Deputy CM, Mr. Jishnudev Verma. I also would like to thank the Honorable Minister from Manipur, Mr. Radhesham Singh, and he did again speak something very critical: how to transform ideas into action. Because yes, these discussions have been taking place several times. There are a lot of plans in place, but I can almost sense that angst that it's not really translating into deliverables, and maybe these processes help in that. He did speak about the need to inspire and ignite young minds. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Northeast does have a very vast, reserve of youth, of youngsters. As I did mention, the best ambassadors are what we see with the kids from Northeast who work in towns like Gurgaon, Bombay, Pune, etc. The manpower quality in Northeast is extremely high, and of course here I mean the young ladies as well. Manpower, just I don't imply just one gender. Mr. Radhesham Singh also did speak about the relevance of education, how to make it more curious for children. That, of course, is nothing, that's something that needs to be relentlessly to be driven. And he said something very key out here. He said to learn, unlearn, and to relearn. That I think was a very fantastic line, a fantastic phrase. To learn, unlearn, and relearn. That really is, again, holds the key to igniting the young minds. I do also thank Mr. Ajit Thakur. He's been chipping in after every speaker. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Vishwajit, for inviting me to give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. You always inspire us, and you've really done grassroots work and actually deliver everything in the Northeast. And you've been there for a long time, and you've seen the change. You made a change, direct to home. So thank you for that, and thank you for summarizing everything. Good luck, and I hope you continue to inspire us and mentor us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think with that, we come to the end of the inaugural part of the program. And now that we do not really have the option of serving tea and going out for tea, this being online, I think we can move on to the technical state without further ado. So may I invite Professor Satyadev Poddar, the Vice Chancellor of the Maharaj Bir Vikram University, Tripura, to deliver his address. He will be speaking on enabling education to address climate change and environmental challenges. I think this is something very, very relevant for us here in the Northeast and also elsewhere, but particularly here in the Northeast because we are a biodiversity hotspot, one of the few left biodiversity hotspots of the world. So may I invite Professor Satyadev Poddar, please. Professor Poddar, please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Namaskar and good evening to everyone. Respected Sri Ranjit Bharat Thakur, Chairman FICCI Northeast Advisory Council, Mr. Radhesham Singh, Honorable Minister of Education Manipur, Mr. Jishnudev Verma, Honorable Deputy CM of Tripura, Mr. Rajat Banerjee, Mentor FICCI Direct Selling Task Force and Vice President Corporate Affairs MOA, participants of technical session, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, I extend my heartiest thanks to the organizer of the webinar on Future Enabling Education, Northeast India as Educational Hub for Asia. I feel myself honored to be the part of the program. The topic assigned to me is Enabling Education to Address Climate Change and the Environmental Challenge. As you know, climate refers to the condition of temperature, humidity, atmosphere pressure, wind, rainfall, etc. in an area of the Earth's surface. When you talk about climate change, it affects the natural resources, economic activities, food security, health and physical infrastructure. The threat is especially great wherever people's livelihood are particularly dependent on natural resources. Northeast India is the land of rising sun, the green belt of India, so-called land of forests and the indigenous people. The entire Northeast region is a global biodiversity hotspot, as well as being home to many different ethnic groups with a rich cultural heritage and traditional knowledge of the environment. When you address environment challenge, we should accept the proposition that environment is the key of existence of life on earth. Without it, there can be no life on earth. Environment is everything that is around us. It can be living or non-living things. Resources. The Northeast region was almost an environment-friendly region with maximum rainfall everywhere. Green trees and green pastures was everywhere, but due to deforestation, flood, industrial activities, coal mining, operation, crude oil exploration, petroleum refinery, fertilizer industries, paper industries, cement industries, automobile or exhaust emission, etc., the environment of the region is at great threat. Despite the existence of several forest laws and regulations, the forest cover has been drastically reduced to below 25%. The killing of rhinoceros for their horn and the elephants for their ivory by the poachers has become the common phenomenon in Northeast India. Here is the role of education to create awareness and sensitivity through environmental education for the protection of endangered species of Northeast India. Flood is considered as the natural calamity, but the havoc of flood causes several damage to ecology. Hundreds of wild animals, including deers and rhinoceros, calves living in the Kaziranga National Park lost their lives in the stream of Brahmaputra every year due to flood. The beautiful island Majuli is losing several hectares of land everywhere. Educational institutions must emphasize and draw the attention of the government of India to take initiative for the control of flood by constructing many more hydel and irrigation projects and dams on the tributaries of the river. The illegal migrant problems in Assam, Tripura, and Meghalaya is also contributing to the environmental degradation of the region. Illiteracy, poverty, poor hygiene, and means for subsistence amongst the people are also contributing to a great extent to the environmental degradation. Through education, we have to develop knowledge and understanding about environment and environmental challenges. By enabling education, we have to look into the participation in activities that lead to the resolution of environmental challenge. The Northeast region of India has become highly prone to the consequences of climate change because of its ecological fragility, strategic location vis-a-vis the eastern Himalayan landscape and international borders, its transboundary river basins, and its inherent socio-economic instabilities. Environmental security and sustainability of the region are and will be greatly challenged by these impacts. The region falls under high rainfall zone with subtropical climate. Still under influence of global climatic change, even high rainfall areas are facing drought-like situation. Drought and floods are the adverse climatic condition arising out of deficit in excess rainfall, respectively. Drought assumes significance mainly in rain-fed condition like in Northeast India. The increasing melting of glaciers in the Himalayas are great concern for the region. Under this situation, it is our prime duty to enable education for conservation, agriculture, afforestation, rainwater harvesting, efficient use of inputs, following proper agro techniques for management of drought among the farming communities to mitigate the impact of climatic change. The mega study led by Sushil Kumar Das of the Center for Atmospheric Science at IIT Delhi on the climatic condition of Northeast India projected an increase in the annual mean surface temperature by about 0.4 degrees C in the 30 years from 2011 to 2040 and by 5.8 1.15 degrees C at the end of the century. It also projected the increase in annual means of precipitation by about 0.09 mm per day in the near future and by 0.08 mm per day at the end of the century. The enabling education has given me the clear picture about future hazards, and accordingly we can prepare ourselves. We can monitor our activities, as scientists have made the observation that warm nights were more frequent in the summer months than the warm days. Their future simulation indicate more frequent warm events than the cold events. Environmental education should not only restrict to in-class lesson plans. Children can learn about the environment in many ways. Experimental lessons in the school's yard, field trips to national parks, after school green clubs, and school-wide sustainability projects help make the environment as easily accessible topic. Environmental education policy must be framed to train the individuals to thrive in a sustainable society. In addition to building a strong relationship with nature, citizens must have the skills and knowledge to succeed in a 21st century workforce. Renewable energy education should be taught with the world's population in mind, as the world will run out of non-renewable resources within the next century. Renewable energy education will also bring awareness of climate change to the general public, as well as to understanding the current renewable energy techniques. And understanding of the new techniques is imperative to get them streamlined and accepted by the vast majority of the topic. Environmental degradation is a reality in the Northeast. Nature has a mechanism to control pollution, but the human race has outpaced this natural process. The need of our is to augment this natural restoration through focused intervention. The first step towards environmental conservation is spreading awareness, for which it comes a sense of responsibility. UNESCO has stressed on the need for a widespread environmental awareness program. It would safeguard the societal quality of life and ensure that the sustainability development goals are met. The education, a carefully designed learning system through which youngsters are exposed to various aspects of environmental conservation, would help them develop a deep understanding. A child should not only be taught the name of the flower, rather he should know why that flower is important in that ecosystem. Chapters, courses, and modules on environment conservation should be designed in a manner that they are imbibed in the student's psyche. India has a rich Vedic tradition wherein environmental conservation was a prominent part of the life of everyday individual. The students of Gurukul were made to respect the laws of nature, and strict penance was to be observed if someone violated the principle of environmental protection. The Sanskrit hymn says, Madhubatta ritayate madhukranti sindhava. It means, may the air be regularly pure like honey. May the flowing river be pure like honey. In a simple language, air and water that constitute the environment should be pure like honey, and through their purity, you should be blessed with better health. Atharved also says that the but bricks is prohibited to cut because God lives in this tree, and no disease where this is situated. In the Maitreyi Sanhita, the earth has been described as Devjanya, adorable by deities, the sources of all kinds of medicinal plants. Environmental protection should run in our blood all the time. The way we try to learn English to call ourselves better educated, more civilized, in the same way we have to make the protection of environment as an integral part of our life. We have to make it a point. We exist and we will exist if environmental will exist. We have to make and mold our every activities where environmental protection is to take in due care. Mahatma Gandhi had also indicated in the same way, where Mahatma Gandhi says, nature has provided everything for our need and not for our greed. Let us make the nature of our best friend. We should not exploit the nature for our material growth. At last, I want to conclude my presentation with the note that it is education. It is only through educational activities which can change the degraded environment caused due to climate change into a beautiful earth where men will live with environment in a very comfortable way with better understanding, and that is the need of the hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Uddar. I think that was a wonderful speech. Beginning of the technical session, we're talking about the addressing the environmental needs. I think here in the Northeast, nothing can be more relevant for us in these times. I think given that the Northeast is one of the few Northeast, along with the countries like Burma, Myanmar, Nepal, Bhutan, this is one of the few last carbon sinks which are there in the world and which are literally the lungs of the world. So the wealth which we have and which we need to protect, which we need to leverage. And therefore, I think learning about this wealth should be incorporated in our education system, right from the schools and studies as well. Having said that, I think the societal aspects of education is, education plays a very important role in building society. And one of the primary objectives that education needs to fulfill is that of this objective, that is what sort of people we have, what sort of citizens we have, and how do they contribute to society. So addressing social objectives of education is our next topic. And Professor Dr. Charbak, professor at the Assam University, Silchar, is our speaker here. May I invite Professor Charbak? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatthakur. Am I audible, sir?
This is Vishwajit Chakraborty here. Mr. Bhatthakur has had to step out.
Acha. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chakraborty. Am I audible? I think I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. So, our honorable guests, Sri Jishnu Dev Burman, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Sri Radhesham Singh, Honorable Minister of Education, Manipur, Professor Satyadev Poddar, Vice Chancellor, Maharaja Bir Bikram University, and our Mr. Ranjit Bhatthakur, Chairman, FICCI. So, my topic is addressing the social objectives of education. Now, we are talking about enabling education and a hub for the Northeast. So, when we are talking about this on a platform convened by FICCI, no other organization than FICCI, and as our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister of Tripura had specifically mentioned that we should have a kind of sustainable development approach. We should have a long-term vision, not something which will fall astray after, say, 5 years or 10 years after starting it. And it's not a case of, say, investing on another industry as education and being an industry these days. So it's about how the society can build up, particularly after this disruption of COVID, post-COVID age. Now, here we are talking about having an educational hub in the Northeast. There are few social perspectives which should be very much clear at the beginning itself. First of all, this particular concept of hub, I would like us to remember, FICCI to remember, this discourse to remember, not only today, but continue to remember the word which was used by Rabindranath Tagore, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, when he had conceived Vishwabharati, Jatra Vishyang Bhavatek Nidam, that is nest. Now, when he was thinking of an educational nest for the world, we are now talking about hub in this platform. So this is not to, I am quite a believer in pluralistic ideas. So this is not to say nay to any idea, but this is just to make us aware of the different functions that could be played by a nest of knowledge or a hub of knowledge. Now, I would rest this point here itself, so as all of us can continue this discourse within ourselves and thus enrich this overall discourse of FICCI in future. From here, I will now go back to our other point, which had been raised by our Honorable Education Minister of Manipur, that in this whole backdrop, how we are going to prepare our kids here in Northeast for a future, the demand of which is unknown. Now, of course, here organizations like FICCI and honorable members of FICCI and other academicians, they can join hands in determining what could be perhaps the demand for at least the immediate future, may not be very far future. But that is one point on which I am not going to speak on. I am going to speak on the social objectives of education. And if we have to think about the social objectives of education, apart from the fact of having it in a sustainable development model, on which Professor Poddar had said lots of important points related to climate change and the ideas which should be imbibed from the very beginning of education, like in Tagore's form of education, Professor Poddar must be knowing in Shantiniketan, they start it right at the primary level. They start knowing the insects, knowing the trees, plants, and their inner relationship, the whole ecological cycle therein. Now, anyway, not going into transgressing into that area, I'm again coming back to Northeast. Now, first of all, in Northeast, we can have an educational hub, but of course, that hub is going to be in India. So we are basically talking about India having an educational hub in Northeast, whereas the world educational scenario is like this. China and United States, the United States and China, they are the leading educational hub. A few years back, according to one particular statistics, there were three former non-residential head of state who got their education in India. I mean, they were head of state abroad, not in India. At the same time, there were only 58 head of states who got their education in United States. Now, when we are talking about an educational hub, it may not be necessarily just to take away the bread from United States being an educational hub. We can start like our own, and we can go ahead slowly. But India is already having a good number of foreign students as well. And even domestically, we have a very big demand for education. Now, if we see the practical situation in Northeast is having adequate land, a very serene natural setup, and a quite peaceful situation these days. So it's very nice to have educational hub in Northeast or Nest, whatever may be the idea we are going to have. But the first important social objective of education, if I talk about, should be that this hub should first take care of the indigenous people. If we deprive the indigenous people of Northeast in setting up an educational hub here, or any other industrial hub for that matter, then very soon we will take back the clock 30 years, 40 years on the backside, and the kind of situation prevailing in Northeast will again come within no time. I mean, within a day, within a night, in the next morning, Northeast can be violent again if indigenous people are deprived. So the first important social consideration related to education should be that we have to think about the indigenous people first, and think about the indigenous people first, and again think about the indigenous people first. Second is we have to also think a bit about the reality. Right now, along with Andhra Pradesh, Nagaland and Meghalaya are one of those highest dropout, recorded rates of dropout in education, and that starts right from primary to higher education. Now, we know that I'm not going into the details. There are some 4 to 6 different stages of education we can make out, starting from right literacy and then primary education, etc. Post-COVID age, we are going to have a sea change in this whole setup. whatever was earlier known as literacy is now going to be replaced by digital literacy. Now, this being the challenge in front of us, earlier we were talking about literacy, primary education, schools for all, less dropout. We are going to confront a situation where we have to bring everybody in the level of digital literacy. If people are not going to be digitally literate, then people may not have a human life hereafter. Digital literacy is going to be so important a factor that if people are not having their digital presence, they may be reduced to a subhuman life. Now, that being so, when we talk about the social objectives of education for a educational hub in the northeast of India, first of all, just like that earlier we had been talking about education for all, we have to now first of all ensure digital literacy for all. If we don't, then it will be like those Hollywood movies where some people are living on the earth and some people are living literally below the earth because they can't have the right to live on the earth because they don't have the ability. Because digital presence, digital literacy are going to be the key of future survival skills in the post-COVID era. Secondly, having said so, apart from this digital literacy for all, the issue of connectivity in terms of transport, in terms of internet, as well as land is also definitely there, investment is definitely there. These two connectivities are going to play most important role in having this social educational hub in Northeast. Now, these are the most important points which we should remember right now. I could speak on certain other issues related to the social objectives, but those will include, just like we were talking about education previously, we were talking about the gender bias. We know that the dropout rate among the girls are always higher, except few exceptions. Similarly, in Northeast also, when we are talking about digital literacy, we have to take special care about the other gender, not only about the indigenous people. Among the indigenous also, the ladies, the other gender is something on which we have to really take care. Third is that uh, on this social objectives, we have to imbibe the connectivity of what Professor Satyadev Poddar was talking about, the climate angle, the sustainable angle, what our Deputy Chief Minister had also said, with the new pedagogy of digital education right from beginning. It is not just a translation of whatever we were doing in classrooms previously that is going to be online over videos in future. We had understood certain basic drawbacks of our hitherto continuing educational structure and pedagogy. Now, when we are going to reshape, remodel, restructure the education in the digital sphere, we have to take care of the new pedagogy for this digital education as well. So, having said so, I think my 10 minutes on clock are almost coming to an end. So, I would again profusely thank FICCI for organizing this, and I would expect that in future also we would continue this discourse, having all the states involved. One more point I would just like to say while finishing up, that this educational hub or nest, this has to be created in an organic connection with the existing higher education setup of Northeast. So as it can utilize the resources of all these existing university and other higher educational institutes of Northeast and become the new international center for excellence from Northeast. It could be located, may not be one place, it could be located in multiple places together. But this kind of having relationship with all the existing higher educational spots of Northeast would make it a very, very quick jumping into the fray for being a new international hub. Thank you very much. Thank you, FICCI, again. And I take my leave here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chavak. Thank you very much for the interesting talk I think you were right in saying that we must focus on the indigenous population first. It is very, very, very important not only to ensure the economic development of the region, but also to ensure that the region remains peaceful, which is one of the prerequisites for human development. Uh, I think the region, if it really wants to transform itself into a hub of education for Asia or for Southeast Asia, I think that is going to be one of the prerequisites that we position the region as an inclusive region which takes care of its own people and which is peaceful and which is welcoming to others coming. Thank you, Professor Chaiwak, for your talk. We look forward to continuing the discourse indeed. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us uh, Dr. Pranjal Kumar Fukan. He is a top functionary at the BCPL, Brahmaputra Chemicals and Fertilizer Chemicals Limited. It's a gas cracker plant which has come up in Assam quite some time now, one of the few in the country. He is also a global mentor of the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. He is Director of Strategy of International Council of Technology and Management and Applied Sciences. He is Regional Director of CSR and Sustainability Institute. He is into a number of other organizations, and he is a prolific speaker who speaks on a number of subjects across the world. So I now invite Dr. Pranjal Kumar Fukan to speak on the industry perspective of addressing the demand and supply gap as far as education is concerned. Dr. Fukan, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm thankful to FICCI and obviously to Mr. Bishoy Chakravarti for giving me this opportunity to speak on this subject. I have heard the earlier speakers. The main thing, like, it is very clear and loud now. It is very clear and loud now that if the education sector, is not coming up with the latest developments in technologies like Industry 4.0 and STEAM, that is Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics, to be included in the curriculum, I don't think our talents will be up to the mark with the global standards. Without this, any plan, any action, any developments required for making this part of the region as a hub will be futile. Simply because now the things is like, as per I'm showing some figures given by the international bodies, that World Economic Forum has said that 40% of the existing jobs involving routine and manual work will go out of the market within 5 to 7 years, because everything is now artificial intelligence, machine learning, IIoT, IoT. Whether it is education sector, whether in industry sector, whether it is service sector, whether it's for the individuals, we are all contactless now, and it will be prevailing for the next 5 to 7 years. I don't know whether because I'm not a medicine student, so I cannot say that whether any medicines or vaccines will come up, but 5 to 7 years, this trend is going to happen, which will impact us a lot. And if you are planning for any development in making this a hub, the first and first, our curriculum has to be devised in such a manner that it includes the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics in one stream, whether it will be a humanities student, whether it will be an art student, whether it is a science student, commerce student, it doesn't matter much. A history student also have to study mathematics. He has to study engineering, not totally, but in the curriculum it has to be imbibed, because industries are now going dark industries. They are going to call as dark factories now, because industry 4.0 doesn't allow much of the human interference in their factories. It will be remotely controlled through all the advanced technologies. So any employees employed in the industry, whether he is a cashier, whether he is an engineer, whether he is operations or anyone or any strategy, he has to work from home or on isolation. So he should understand the 5 Qs now. First Q is intelligent quotient. emotional quotient, social quotient, people's quotient, and the most important thing is technology quotient. So there are 5 Qs. So he has to understand from the school itself that the world has changed and it is no U-turn anymore. We are going on this platform in a such fast mode. The government of India is also starting artificial intelligence incubation center. The center, I being a government public sector employee, I understand that our all modalities are going in AI. We are asking vendors to register immediately on the online platforms so they can do the crowdsourcing through artificial intelligence. See how the things has happened so fast. Industry 4 started 4 years back. We all were sleeping basically because there was no necessity. But presently the necessity is so much that we have to work 24 hours to cope up with the global standards. If our students are not met to the standards, it is the responsibility of the educational institutions, responsibility of the faculties, and responsibility of the students also, apart from responsibility of the policy makers, to please understand the situation is very clear and loud. No more talkings, no more plannings, no more strategy. We have to implement it or we will be vanished out of the whole scenario, and there won't be any situation like, because there is no offline case now or online. If you are to at par with the international standards, if you want to make India and in particular Northeast an international education hub, then first and foremost we have to understand how to collaborate with the nearest universities or the universities, because it is the duty of everyone now. Everyone, I must say everyone, though I'm a professional, I am into this sector because I have a pool of 100 students now. I have met this personally from Degradation University in Upper Assam, and I am just inciting their minds. Please do the research related to industries to fill the gap of what the Chinese bans have made us to follow now. The industry academia gap, we are discussing a lot for the last, I have heard for the last 3-4 years, but this gap is not a gap. It is an opportunity for us. And if we do not do anything on this, then I think we are losing time and there will be no more time left and we'll be totally out of the market. And that is the opportunity will be taken care by someone. So why to give our fortune in someone's hand? If you have the talents, we have the thought, we have such a good platform. FICCI has came up. I really I appreciate this opportunity. These things they have thought of, and especially Mr. Ranjit Bothakur, that for such a nice opportunity, nice subject he has crop up. But I want to see the students, I want to see the faculties, I want to see the education institutions specifically, not blaming the government, not blaming the policymakers, what to do, what not to do. You have to do, you have to take the onus. Then only I can say Northeast can be really be a education hub and an example for the world. With this, I want to just close this subject. My subject is only for I4 and AI/ML, and I thought I have given this subject very clear to the audience, and think that they will surely work on this. Thank you very much for the patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Fukan. I think that was very good. Yes, I think the region needs to look at sort of connecting with other universities in the neighborhood, not just in India, but also in the country neighborhood, in Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal, if you are to really become a hub. And yes, you are right. I think the world is changing, and COVID is probably one of the factors that is driving the change as of today, which is acting sort of as a catalyst. The world is going to be different going forward. There is going to be more of remote work. Factories are going to be operated remotely. Very few people are going to work in factories, and so on and so forth. Offices may become unnecessary, and people might prefer to work from home. And I think our education system also has to change to adapt to this changing reality, not only in terms of imparting education remotely, but also in terms of equipping people to work remotely. So I think that's a very interesting observation. Thank you so much. Now we are supposed to have David Debar, my friend and a budding entrepreneur from Tripura. But I think I don't see him. He is not there. Are you there, David? He's been having intermittent problems with the internet. I think we'll come back to him. But in the meanwhile, may I invite Ms. Dr. Chavi Asrani from the Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations, IIIT. She is going to talk about global disruption in education and the economic impact. At the first look, the disruption in education does not seem to have economic impact, but the impact is not just now, the impact is far-reaching. So I think she is going to elaborate on that. Dr. Asrani.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Sincere regards to all the distinguished panelists. I would just like to make a couple of points and throw a few numbers. So firstly, I agree with Dr. Charvak when he spoke about, enhancement of digital literacy, which is of course very important. But we also need to understand that in these challenging times of the pandemic, we've seen that education has become online. Your digital trajectory has been facilitating the delivery of education, and there's a new pedagogy to it. But we must understand that though we are leveraging these virtual technologies to provide education, but this is leading to further gaps in the society or further inequalities in the society per se, because those who have access to digital devices and internet services can of course get access to this online education, and then the cohorts which don't have access to these digital devices or internet services are going to be lagging behind and may not have access to education. So primarily your private sector schools or your well public schools which can provide education through digital platforms, they're doing well, but there are large number of students who will get, who will not be getting education in the COVID times. So when we talk about evolving education pedagogy, we must keep in mind that this digital trajectory should be more far-reaching, more widespread, so that online mode of education can continue. Now, coming to global disruption in education and economic impact. So, yeah, disruption is of course due to the pandemic and the digital divide that exists within our own country and of course globally. And then further, as we go ahead, how do we ensure that in an online platform, the student-teacher interactions are very fair, are very just, and students are actually having good learning outcomes? So this is one challenge, and probably we need to have some kind of technologies which can actually facilitate better delivery of our education. Okay, now looking at your economic impact and opportunities for India and specifically Northeast. So I would just like to throw a few numbers. The Ministry of External Affairs, as per Ministry of External Affairs data, previous year we had about 7.5 lakh Indian students traveling abroad for their education. And where do they travel for education? It is mostly US. 70% are traveling to US, followed by Canada, Australia, of course UK is there, Europe is there. So when we talk about global universities, they host a major chunk of Indian students and look up to these Indian students for their revenue stream and for providing education. And if we look at RBI data, that will tell us that cost of education outside India, like in these abroad, so on an average is 60% more than the average Indian education. So clearly, in terms of due to the pandemic, when we see that global travel has been disrupted and many countries have put visa restrictions. For instance, for US, I think to get a visa next appointment, I think the earliest one can get is in 2021, probably February somewhere. So so this year has actually generated opportunities in India to have, upgrading of your educational institutions and upgrading of your education institutional capacity, so that the students who were earlier traveling abroad for educations are now actually focusing on Indian universities for education. So besides your Pune, Bangalore, Chandigarh being being education hubs in India, we do need new education hubs in India. So Northeast, having appropriate climate, and if you are able to have infrastructure and valid connectivity, so there are a lot of opportunities in this sector. So when we talk about these 7.5 lakh students who this year will not be traveling out for education, and probably we don't see that in coming years also, because education should be sourced more locally. So clearly there are opportunities in terms of STEM education, in terms of humanities, or whatever field this cohort will be interested in. Now, a trend that we notice, why do people go out of India to study? Of course, it is about having quality education or your prospective job opportunities. Now, as Honorable Minister Jishnudev Verma ji mentioned, that we can create employment, but then we can't go on finding people. So, and if we are skilling people, we must have employment for them. And it's a well accepted thing by the panel members that you need to have more coherence with your industry interaction and academia. So what the industry demands, academia may provide that. They must train and have human resources or have skilled individuals which can contribute to industry effectively. So if we can actually bridge this gap between academia and industry and figure out what kind of programs and how should we be skilling the future generations of India, that is something that we've been talking about for many years, but that is something that we really need to bridge the gap. So we need to go beyond dialogue, as Minister Radhesham Singh ji mentioned. So we need to go beyond dialogue, and Northeast can in particular look into that manner. We should have education which is actually providing a skilled labor for the industry, skilled personnel for the industry, and then probably we can go further. So if we look at the economic impact, which is of course far reaching, but just to put some numbers, we know that if we have education in India, Indians would be shelling out less money abroad, because abroad education is about 60% more expensive. And if we were to look at the US universities revenue model, because of the pandemic, estimate says that there's going to be a revenue cut down of about 80%. And in US universities, about 20% students are Indian and about 30% students are from China. So India does provide a hub of international students. So rather than these students going out, there should be education opportunities within India. Now, disruption by pandemic itself has provided us this, has generated a pressing need to not only have your educational structure in India, but also upgrade the existing educational sector. You have to up your capacity, and this is what so there is a clear opportunity if Northeast wants to come as an educational hub and is determined to do so. So I think this is the right time to tap the opportunity to upscale it and convert, have an educational hub in Northeast part of India also, and see that you are more industry linked, and ensure that you are able to attract Indian students towards Northeast. And by default, when your visas are delayed or your global travel is disrupted, we will have students. So it is a very organic domestic demand, and something that which is low hanging fruit, which the Northeast must tap into. So with these remarks, I would like to rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asrani. I think that was a wonderful talk indeed. I think this, as we look at turning the Northeast into an educational hub, we should not lose sight of the Indian students. And very aptly put, that a huge number of Indian students who used to travel abroad are not going to travel abroad this year, and many of them maybe not in the coming years also. So those who are looking for institutions and universities in India, and the Northeast must tap this. We have a number of good institutions here, starting from the IIT, the IIM, the IIIT, and a number of private institutions also has come up. Professor Poddar is heading one of the universities. We have Professor Charvak from Assam University, one of the leading universities in Assam. I think, yes, the region has a lot of potential in terms of tapping this potential, not only from as far as students from abroad are concerned, but also students in India who are not traveling abroad. Thank you very much. We look forward to continuing the interaction. And now, one of the fallouts of the current pandemic, a positive fallout, I should say, is the theme of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think India has finally decided, like many other countries, that it is not good to be dependent on import, but to be independent as far as possible and create Atmanirbharta. Dr. Ramesh Singh from Manipur, he is a public health nutrition specialist and also an entrepreneurship expert. He's going to talk about education and how, entrepreneurship education for Atman, how that can help us, how help convert India into an Atmanirbhar country. So Dr. Ramesh Singh, please.
Thank you, Chakrabartiji, and namaste, everyone. Good evening. I'm so happy to join you from Imphal. It is a very, very important forum, the webinar organized by FICCI on the theme, the Future Enabling Education, Northeast India as Educational Hub for Asia, where all the honorable policymakers and the respectable dignitaries are sitting on the dais as a panelist. Sri Honorable Minister of Education, Manipur, Sri T.H. Radheshyam, and Honorable Deputy CM of Tripura, Sri Jishnudev Verma, and Chairman of FICCI, Mr. Ranjit Bhatt Thakur, and the mentor of FICCI Direct Selling Task Force, and Mr. Rajat Banerjee. So, and all the distinguished speakers, and ladies and gentlemen, I am today so delighted to be a part of this webinar. The very, very brilliant topic, the entrepreneurship education for Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-sufficient India. And I have also listened very carefully to all the deliberations which has been made by all the respectable speakers. Our Honorable Minister of Education, Manipur, has pointed out one very, very striking point, that's the education which is relevant in the next 10, 20 years. That means the future ready education, future relevant education. Also, our Honorable Minister, Deputy CM of Tripura have also pointed out the very concept, that's the broadening of the mind about education. And also Professor Charvak has also mentioned about the digital literacy for all. These are very, very important and relevant, and I believe with all these inputs and all these think tanks in Manipur, in Northeast today, this very, very brilliant idea of Northeast India as education hub for Asia will be materialized in the coming months. And with that, with the topic of Atmanirbhar Bharat, I would like to bring in a very, very important element of education today. That's the entrepreneurship. So education is important for the society, which enables the mass to become self-sufficient. That everybody knows. But the question here is, are all the educated people employable, or are we able to employ them? This is a question. And with that, the question of this today's entrepreneurship is very, very important, and that's what we want to discuss today. So, as recommended or suggested by the NITI Aayog, entrepreneurship is the only way for the vast number of Indian youths to self-sustain or to self-support. So, in this, is our education, the existing education, sufficient to enable physically or mentally or in spirit? Are they able to take it up, the entrepreneurship, on their own? So with this, I'd like to bring in this concept that education is to be little bit modified or revamped in such a way that the individual who is having passed out from the high school level or the college level or graduated or postgraduate is able to take on his own foot, stand up on his own foot and take entrepreneurship in whatever field he or she has. So education is an important factor in determining the entrepreneurial orientation in individuals. Formal education is positively correlated with entrepreneurship. The education and training can have a definite role in enhancing entrepreneurship in the context of developing country like India by expanding the pool of entrepreneurs. So in this, I would like to again throw or bring in another concept that is an option to fulfill this very, very noble idea, brilliant idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this element is the direct selling industry. So the direct selling industry is a business model that offers entrepreneurship opportunity as independent contractors to market and or sell the products or services typically outside of a fixed retail establishment on one-to-one or in-home product demonstration or online modes. I want to emphasize here that in direct selling, one can start with what he or she has without going for loan or big startup capital. For instance, let me share with you a story, which will be my own story because I know my story the best, other than other stories. See, me and my wife, we took direct selling opportunity to start our own business, working from home, and that was around 20 years back. So we were unable to start any kind of business because of the huge capital and because of the resources that we could not afford. But we started this business with what we have. That's what we could manage. That's around 5,000 rupees only. So that business which we started, what we did was we sell the products. We started with a giant direct selling company by the name Amway India Enterprises. So with Amway India Enterprises, we started our own business, working from home, and in flexible times, part times, we work, we sell the products, and from the products we sell, we get a little bit of retail profit, and on that we earn commissions. And what we did was when the thing was good for us, we coached other people to do the same. And those who believe in us and those who are in need of earning extra income, they also start following us. They also earn, and their business keeps growing on. And today, in our business organization, which is spread across the state, northeastern region, and other parts of the country, more than 2,500 people earn their living in a good way, and many youths. Now, when I say 2,500, 80% of them are under 35 years. So these people are so excited, and men, women, youths, and even widows support their livelihood, support their children's education by getting involved in direct selling industry. So this is the direct selling industry opportunity that is being provided by direct selling industry. So I would like to say government should equip or engage and empower educators to provide students with an accurate understanding of the direct selling industry, its potential as a powerful go-to-the-market strategy, and also enable the mass to differentiate from legitimate from illegitimate companies. So sometimes the direct selling by the name of direct selling industry, we mean only the legitimate companies which are registered or recognized by the government of India. So the government of India formalized direct selling industry in India with direct selling guidelines in 2016. Accordingly, many states have adopted the guideline and formalized the industry, as thousands of unemployed are engaging themselves in this platform. All other states should also follow the same. Government should consider incorporating direct selling is one of the prominent entrepreneurship models or options in the curriculum, so as to impart mental, physical, and spiritual ability to encourage the educated youth to start entrepreneurship on their own. So with this, I wish you all the best, and I wish the Atma Nirbhar Bharat is fulfilled in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dr. Singh. I think that was very interesting. One of the highlights of the direct selling industry is that something which can happen without a brick and mortar setup, and which can help people, particularly in this situation of the pandemic going on. I think a lot of people could take that as an opportunity and consider looking at this industry. I think that, and the fact that entrepreneurship should be ingrained in our students in the education system in a way so that people don't study on, don't go for degrees only to get a job. I think it's important that people also look at entrepreneurship as a career option. That is very, very important. To also have with us Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi. He has a lot of experience in human resources and he's a strategy expert. I would like to invite him to speak on human resource capacity building, the way forward for Northeast India. Mr. Dwivedi, are you there? Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi? I think even he is having a technical issue. I think he has somehow gone into the We have Mr. Dwivedi, please go ahead. Can you hear me? Mr. Pradeep Dwivedi? I think we're still having an issue with the technical part of it, but without wasting time, I think we can take a couple of questions. I can see Marvini's Sami, who has raised her hand. If you have a question, please go ahead. I have unmuted you. Do you have a question? I can also see Megha, who has raised her hand.
हेलो,
Yeah.
आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं?
हाँ, बिल्कुल। Please go
हाँ,
ahead,
नमस्कार।
बोलिए।
नमस्कार। सबसे पहले तो त्रिपुरा के यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री आदरणीय जिष्णुदेव वर्मा जी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि वो आज पधारे थे। उसके अलावा हमारे बड़े ही भारत भर में बड़ा ही अच्छा बोलने वाले एक अच्छे मणिपुर के वक्ता मंत्री, शिक्षा मंत्री जी, उनका भी और आप सभी लोगों का आभार व्यक्त करते हुए, क्योंकि मुझे मानव संसाधन पे बोलने के लिए कहा गया था, तो बहुत सारे दिनों से मैं जब भी नॉर्थ ईस्ट को दूसरे राज्यों से कनेक्ट करता हूं और इस सिचुएशन में मैंने जो महसूस किया, मैंने देखा कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों के पास जो कला और जो कौशल है वो भारत में किसी भी और राज्य के पास नहीं है। लेकिन न तो उनको उचित स्रोत मिलता, न तो उनको उचित संसाधन मिलता, और न तो उनको वह दूसरे राज्यों में वो उचित महत्व मिलता है जो उसके लिए पात्र हैं। इसके लिए मैं आज आपकी ये जो सभा हो रही है, इसके पहले भी मैंने बहुत सारे प्रयास किए और आज आपके माध्यम से अगर आप लोगों ने मेरा सहयोग इस मामले में किया तो मैं बहुत सारे राज्यों में नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों के लिए बहुत से ऐसे कार्यक्रम हैं, बहुत से ऐसे विषय हैं जिनको मैं 5 मिनट के समय में आप लोगों के सामने बिल्कुल नहीं रख पाऊंगा, लेकिन ये संभवतः डेविड जी भी जानते हैं और आदरणीय जिष्णुदेव वर्मा जी और आदरणीय राधेश्याम सिंह जी भी जानते हैं कि मैं किस प्रकार से इन लोगों के लिए काम कर रहा हूं। और जो कला और कौशल नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों में है, मैंने आज ही भारत भर के कई राज्यों से नॉर्थ ईस्ट के मंत्रियों को और नॉर्थ ईस्ट के कई राज्यों से भारत भर के मंत्रियों को मैंने इसी संबंध में पत्र लिखवाए हैं, जो पिछले 3-4 दिन से चल रहा है। इसके साथ ही आप लोगों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हुए मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद द्विवेदी जी, थैंक यू सो मच. I think that was very relevant. We have a few questions which have come up on the chat. I'd like to read out some of those questions. First question is for Mr. Pranjal. When we talk about global qualitative approach, how do you analyze the reach of students and institutions in context of global communication and innovation, especially when you are being trained on the floor? I think this is a question from Rishi Mathur. Pranjal, would you like to respond? Mr. Fukan?
Yeah.
Would you like to respond to that question?
Regarding that relevance to economic, or what is actually, can you just repeat once?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. I think the question was more about the global economic scenario and, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says when we talk about global qualitative approach, how do you analyze the reach of students and institutions in context with global communication and innovation, especially when they are trained on the floor?
Yeah, that's a very, very important thing which I tried to main thing, like quality is basically the value what he perceives, isn't it? So if the student is going to perceive the quality of others, before that he should be at par with the quality what the third person or other person is perceiving from him. So what I'm saying time to time, that whatever education or skilling he's be getting from the university or institutions, So whether that particular subject, whether he's be understanding the present context, in present context, without this, I don't know whether he'll be understanding what the globe is requiring for, whether it be economic or whether it be technology, whether it be the industry, whether it be the education, everything is moving simultaneously on the same platform. And if anyone is being left out or being left or intendedly he's left out, so I don't think, because now all streams are moving at the same same pace. What I said, STEM, earlier it was STEM, now one more letter has added to it, STAM, means what? Science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics. So nothing is left out. So first of all, to understand anything on your journals or in the internet, first of all, assess yourself. It's the very right time in the COVID situation to introspect yourself. Keep learning, learn, because you are now totally isolation. There's no mentor, no teachers, no faculties, no experts to just make you understand physically. So better first introspect yourself, then go to understand the requirement of the others, because now there are two platforms are moving. One is conventional platform, other is this post or you can say pandemic platform. So that gap has to be reduced first. Then I think you can understand what we say or what one says. I think it is clear to you. It is very broadly spoken. If in details you need to have, then first understand what you need to do for yourself first, isn't it? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fukan. I think Altaf Hussain wanted to speak. He wanted to ask a question. Mr. Hussain, I'm unmuting you. Please keep your question brief so that the panelists can respond. Please don't make a lengthy observation.
Hello,
Yes,
is it audible?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to FICCI and thank you to Amway for this wonderful opportunity. My question, I have some solution to some of the problems that our Indian education has been facing since the independence. My first question, I have two questions. In fact, the first question is, the question itself will be an answer to my question. So the first, that India hasn't been able to produce any Nobel laureate since independence. Because if we answer this question, if we are able to answer this question, I think the global scenario that we right now can be, we can check it out. Because just now what Dr. Pranjal Kumar Fukan has spoken about STEAM, also including arts, as I am also a special educator facing a lot of trouble when I teach. So it for me to teach them AI like subject or data management like subject. So when I teach in the classroom, the main topic that I face is why are the materials not being given actually, like in hand. When I say is like in the formal education setting, like till class 12 standard, all the things that are being taught to our children are only based on theoretical. We need innovative approaches. We need something that will also help the children to understand it in a materialistic view. So
Thank you. I think we have got your question. Why India has not produced any Nobel laureates. You have also partially answered the question. But would any one of the panelists like to respond? Dr. Charvak, would you like to respond? I think you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Actually, I kept myself muted. Mr. Altaf, I don't know in which way you are telling us that India has not produced a Nobel laureate. I mean, there are a couple of economists at least. I mean, even if you set aside Amartya Sen, Abhijit Binak is also there. And they are essentially product of this country, our country, India.
Sorry, I meant only in the field of science, because right now what India needs is in the field of pharmaceutical science and engineering, who can help build up a vaccine or a solution to the given problem, or engineering solution that will help check in the innovative techniques that the China or countries like
That's fine, Mr. Altaf. Now let me
Thank you.
conclude.
Thank you. I think we've got your question.
Now this question is completely different. I misunderstood it because of your not including that part. Now, science is something on which I am not a very fit person, but still I do have few scientist friends. So whatever I could gather that the laboratories in India, they not always provide the kind of facilities or the teamwork kind of thing which are there prevailing outside India. But at the same time, Indian scientists may not be having any Nobel in their. I mean, you see, Nobel in science is not given in every small discipline. It is given in very basic few disciplines of science and not in engineering at all. Now, on that is something which is beyond my jurisdiction. But I guess it is reflective of the fact that we have not been able to take our scientific horizon that far, which can go beyond the present frontiers as being seen in Western countries. Thank you. But the other question I could not understand. What was the other question? You told two questions, Mr. Alka.
Altaf,
Achha, I think he is not. Mr. Chakraborty, if you allow me just for a minute, there was a private question addressed to me through chat. I didn't see it
please go
earlier.
ahead.
It's like
Please go
from Mr. Abhishek Verma. He had privately asked one question: is sustainable development possible in today's world, in which people are becoming richer and consuming more of the Earth's natural resources? Mr. Verma, this is a very big question, and I'm afraid that today's discussion ambit doesn't really preclude the full-fledged answer of this question. But I think I am quite alarmed about this part, and FICCI is also so. And that is why today my main point, it was not much, very small one. It was about the deprivation. Because once the rich and not so rich, this difference becomes too much for the society, then suddenly certain disbalances take place and the system confronts certain chaotic moments which are often very, very bloody, so to say. Now, that being so, this COVID-19 episode, what this has created? This has created a new hurdle level. Now, just remember that film Three Idiots, where Boman Irani had called Raju and started writing 1 0 0 0 0 0 0. I don't know how many zeros, and then started cutting off the zeros from one side and told that, okay, now if it is like this, then your family is going to die. So similarly, COVID-19 has put up a new hurdle, which all of us has to take care of certain resources, certain hardships in life. Over the next few years, this will stabilize for people who are much above the poverty line. But people who are near by the poverty line or even who are middle class, for them every resource, every capability will be much more limited. And there this your question is much more focused on that part, that will create such chaotic situation that we have to really take care of that right from now, particularly because education is not just to produce people for the industry. Education is also to produce people for future leadership. Now, if we have to bring that kind of leadership, you don't know. A few days back, I was watching Mr. Devi Shetty speaking about the kind of medical education we are having in our country. And basically, his point was that the kind of medical education we are having only the elite people who are already beyond certain economic means. They are only now coming into medical profession. Whereas people who were having hunger in their belly, they were getting into medical when he was a student. Now, that's what he told, that if this continues, the medical profession will lack its teeth. So we need to, he told that we need to rethink the kind of infrastructural requirement or all we are asking in India. And we should make medical education for more pro people. So as common people, they can, who are good students, they can get into medical profession. We are really, really behind in having medical professional people among us in India. So this is one point, and this is in fact very much connected with the idea of hub. Any education hub should go hand in hand with all these 6 levels of education along with medical education together. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Chakraborty, for giving me this extra mileage, extra time. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from Dr. Jayanto, but before I go to him, I think I'd like to add my 2 bits to the question about why do we not have a Nobel Prize in Science of independence. I think the answer to that question is very, very fundamental. Something very fundamental about us as people. It again goes down to entrepreneurship. You know, scientific discovery or scientific research uh, it entails some amount of entrepreneurship, a lot of entrepreneurship. A person maybe not financial risk, but a person who has spent a lot of time studying and going to school, going to colleges and university, for him to decide to go into research, fundamental research, entails a lot of risk. And we as a people, I think, do not like to take risk. I think it's because of our upbringing, because of the way our society is. We like to take go for things which are more, for granted. If I do this course, if I do an MBA, I'll get a job in this company. If I do my master's in mass communication, I can become a journalist. If I do this, I can become a teacher. I think that's how we look at our profession, our career. Scientific discovery, the need for innovation is not very high on our agenda. I think that probably is one of the reasons why we have not been able to make much of headway. But let me not go on. I think Dr. Jayanto would like to ask a question. Dr. Jayanto, I have unmuted you. Please keep yourself and
Yes.
mention to whom
Thank
you are
you.
directing the question.
Thank you, Bishwaji, for giving me a chance to interact. Myself, Dr. Zenta, I'm working as a director in National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology. It has a center at Jadavpur also. I have been working as a director of this NALIT institution at Kolkata for last year, but just 2 days, 3 days before this pandemic, I have been transferred to Assam. So now I'm working in Assam. So I have some few observation. We have been working so hard to conduct our students online mode. So far what we are achieving is maximum up to 40%. So many speaker has talked about combining the subjects together with the IT and all these are all possibility thing. But now what is happening is the data which is passes to the student through online mode, it is consuming a lot of data. So for 1 day classes, let's say that 4 hours, something like that, the students are consuming something like 3 GB of data. So together for a month, it is going to a good number. So it is giving a lot of data usage to the students. So parents are suffering. At the same time, what the students are feeling is, in case we are attending all these classes, what we are going to get. So there are a lot of dropouts that through NELIT, we are giving a lot of free education to them, IT education to them, and a lot of courses from for SC students are totally free in NELIT. Now, my request to FICCI is, is there any possibility that together with FICCI, with such national institution, we can host some seminar type of thing, webinar type of thing for bringing companies who's of technical level. For example, there are a lot of ITIs in Manipur, there are a lot of ITIs in Northeast states, but most of these ITIs are dying. So I think many of our experts will agree with me. 40%, more than 50% ITIs are dying. We are producing a lot of candidates, but the candidates are not getting anything. So my request to FICCI is,
in next time if we can bring one industry fellow so that they can also help us all together, then there will be a good ecosystem type of. Thank you.
Sure, Dr. Jayanta. I think something we can work on. We can get the experts together and we can try and figure out a solution to the problem that you are facing. I think this is a problem which a lot of institutions are facing, right from the schools to colleges and universities, particularly in the rural areas. This is the major problem. Just a question of how much data is consumed. Sometimes the data connectivity is not available. So it is a big issue, yes. And I think we need to look at it. We need to figure out a way of addressing this because education cannot be exclusive. It has to be inclusive. But we have, let's take advantage of having the educationists with us. Let me ask Professor Pudar to respond to this as to how they are tackling this issue in their university. And I would also ask Professor Charvak to add to that after that. Professor Poddar, if you are there, can you please respond?
We have been to this online teaching in this COVID situation. Now I have to be very careful here because I teach in a central university. But within that restriction, I should say the situation is very fragile. And nobody should assume or expect that because of this COVID-19, India as a country has already graduated to a digital education system. No. And already all of us do know certain cases of suicide. In fact, one of the batches which I teach, some of the best students, they are not having online adequately strong signal in their home because everybody had been sent back home. So people who are living in that kind of villages, they are not simply able to get the signal. And nobody should feel deprived because of their locational disadvantage. Nobody should commit suicide because they are in a desperate situation because they don't get internet. So that is what I was, from the very beginning I was telling. I think I have not minced all words. I should say that it is digital literacy that includes digital networking, connectivity, internet for all. Now this internet for all means just like water for all, air for all. So it should be available for everybody. And a minimum benchmark digital device through which a kid can get the digital education, that should also be part of everybody's right. So when we say right to food, right to life, right to education, now we have come to the age of digital literacy. So instead of literacy, we have to talk about not only literacy, but also digital literacy. And we have to talk about connectivity, not only right to road, but also right to internet and free internet. Now that is not definitely possible by the private companies. They are there in the field to get money, to run profit. Now, in which model this will be done, that is not my business. That is somewhere where FICCI or even other experts, FICCI can bring them together. But internet in future has to be a public good, just like drinking water. Now, drinking water you can get in public good as well as private good or commercial good, both way. But there is some minimum norm through which people should get drinking water. Similarly, there should be some minimum norm of getting connectivity. Otherwise, the way we are right now, we are in a very fragile system, and this cannot continue beyond a time period. We are already confronting a situation where final examinations we have to take in which mode we don't know, and that is being discussed. And today, as we speak, students and teachers throughout the country, they are writing to UGC, MHRD, asking that the final exam cannot be taken place in this situation. And now in this whole doldrum, we are not planning even for future. How, in which mode we will really operate, what percentage of the curriculum we will teach online, and what percentage we will be giving on direct mode all these details are there. It's not that nobody should assume that the whole business of higher education has transformed into a digital system. No. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chakraborty, thank you very much. I mean, I can't really speak more than this.
Thank you, thank you. I think we get your point.
We are in
This
a
is
desperate situation, sir.
Biswit, can I?
But Professor Poddar, I think you are also there and would like to listen to you. Please.
Yeah. Biswit, I want to share my observation because Dr. Charwak has said it is the digital world, and this internet facility should be made available to everyone. But the kind of challenge I am facing here in Tripura, since I am also heading the institution, and for the last 3.5 months, the day that COVID-19 has spread, since we have a very small university, but again, one thing that I have made the WhatsApp group to all the students of semester 1, semester 2, 4, and 6. And I have myself talked to the students through this digital way. What are the problems they are facing? What are thinking about their future? And in that way, I came to know whatever the problem COVID-19 has created, the students who are being deprived due to the classroom teaching, they are very much optimistic about their future. They want anyhow they should be interlinked. Teacher should have the linkage with the students, whatever the mode they have. And in that way, I have talked to my faculties, and I have also encouraged them. You talk to the students because the students' future are uncertain due to the COVID-19, and through different modes that is available to talk to the students. We have tried to create a rapport with the students and the teachers, and in that way, whatever the teaching practices our teachers have done, I think a kind of confidence has been created among the student. And of course, this online classes is not the substitute for the classroom teaching, but a kind of the alternative mode. We don't have another option left. But again, if teachers are optimistic, they can do, and they have done in my university. And because myself has also made a contact with all the students, all the semester students I talked, and I assured them our teachers are here to help you. You tell your problem. The classroom teaching we cannot manage, but whatever the teaching that is possible, that we are trying to do. Sometimes the internet problem is there in the remote area of the Tripura, but we can send the materials so that whenever they have a time, they can read it. So the classroom material that can be sent in different modes, and that may help, and that has helped the student. But the question is the commitment of the teachers. When the problem is there, we can cry, yes, India is a poor country, there is no internet facility. But again, if you look into the challenges we have, the problem we have, you can translate these problems in terms of opportunity. And if you teachers can come forward because they have the mobile, and through mobile they may have the WhatsApp group to the students, and that can be created. And a kind of gap that has been created due to COVID-19, that can be minimized. I think this is the way. We don't say the government will do the internet facility, but government is doing, but that is the distant dream. But again, in such a situation, unless the vaccine is invented, whatever the teachers can do, the role of teacher is very much important in such a situation, because we are accountable to the students, and future of the students are uncertain. That has become uncertain. And when I talk to them, they want to build up the confidence through whatever the ways the education can be given, whatever the means they should be connected. And here lies the positive role teachers can play in such a situation. In our university, teachers are very much apt. They are doing, and even during the 3.5 months, we have finished the internal assessments. We are here to take the final examination also through online modes. Though, of course, we have reduced the syllabus. But again, it is not the wholehearted approach. But again, whatever minimum thing we can give to the student, we are giving. And in that way, if every teachers across the country they can do, I think internet problem cannot be solved day and night. But even in the class mode also, 80%, 70% students all the time available. They are the person that the student that is available in the classroom teaching also. Here in also in the online mode, we are getting 17 to 80% students through online mode. So 20% mode we can send the material, but again someone will be deprived. We cannot have the holistic approach, but whatever things can be done, we should do. And here COVID-19 situation is there, it is going up, we cannot check it. Responsibility is there for the scientists, but again we as a teacher, one of the stakeholder of the educational institution should be positive, and they should come forward to make the contact with the student, because we are accountable to the students and we should do what we can do. That is my need and that is my observation.
Thank you, Dr. Poddar. I think we have a few more questions. We can see Ms. Megha. You have a question, you have raised your hand. I'm unmuting you. Please ask your question and mention to whom you are addressing the question. Yes, do you have a question, please? I think no. I can see Pinaki Ray. Do you have a question? You have. I have unmuted you.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, please
hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Sir, as you know that Assam has 320 colleges, and Northeast is quite lacking behind in terms of management, education, and job-oriented courses. If we compare the developed states like Karnataka or Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra, so we found that yes, their education pattern or higher education choices are quite more high, or even more. Most of the students from Northeast, they are pursuing higher studies in that state. So, do you think that in our education system or our in designing, or should we go ahead for job-oriented courses, or government should take promoting attitude towards these courses?
Thank you. I think that's a very good question. I request Dr. Pranjal Fukan to respond, and also Dr. Asrani after that, if you can respond. Dr. Fukan, please.
Yes, obviously, what I said now, one thing I actually left out during speaking, I just spoke about STEAM, that is a different thing. Now, see, what is happening in the developed countries, it happened quite early, basically. They have developed it like 4-5 years back. Like their education system is more vocational part. Like they try to interact, they try to connect the subjects with the practical orientation on the ground, so that the students whoever studying, they can directly link their subject matters to the things happening around them. And that is the need of the hour, because the conventional industries, conventional sectors, as I told you, will be go out of like 40-50% will go out of the market. So new things will come up, like you have never thought of, that these face masks and sanitizers and hand gloves will be having such a good market at such a short notice. And you have also seen the lots of apps are coming, lots of webinars, lots of VCs are happening. Now, earlier it was happening in a very like isolated type. So that is very much important. But you cannot just, every time I'm saying, just do not rely on the government or policy makers, because being an intellectual, because you all are intellectuals. Obviously, you all are unique. So you should try out yourself, because now the entrepreneurial aspect has to come up in every students, every citizens of this country. Then only this economy will rise. And the most important thing which I am like to discuss with you, that things are happening because it is by force, it is by happening. So mostly I think within 6 months or 1 year, you'll see in the UGC regulated curriculums and obviously CBSEs, these things will come up. They will be try to make it more relevant to the subject, relevant of the subject to the surroundings. As I told in many webinars through my association with Assam Academy of Mathematics, that the students can be very good mathematician if they know what they are doing, if it is related to the atmosphere or the surroundings. so they don't be like afraid of mathematics. So the same thing is happening. So the relation between the studies and relation between the practicality has to be maintained. And especially for the universities, instead of producing these project reports and PhDs, if these project reports and PhDs are being related to the requirement of the community, then I think the question of like why the Nobel Prizes are lesser in India, it will be more. I think it will be more because that will be more relevant one. Instead of putting these journals and theses in the library, but it has to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Asrani, would you also like to add to that response?
Yeah. So Dr. Pranjal has actually put forward a very conducive view. But I would like to say that what Indian universities could do, that we could look at Western universities or probably universities in the advanced world where your QS rankings are really high. And they have these concepts of professor of practice, where you have industry persons actually having and delivering a course or probably facilitating few courses, and then probably industry and academia should come together on themselves, because industry needs academia for their skilled manpower resources. So probably if from industry we could have certain specific centers at particular institutes which could help students channelize their academic areas of work, so that they are more industry linked, more industry oriented. And whether PhDs could undertake research which would have a direct industry orientation, that would be a need of the hour. And probably certain number of PhDs or certain percentage of PhDs in each academic institution of the country should be industry funded, so that they are doing industry project and academia is in more line with the industry orientation. And as far as the government is concerned, whether we are having policies in this regard, so probably your UGC or your MHRD, they are already working at it. And if they come up with policies which can actually facilitate more of industry and academia or interaction, that would be welcome. Because I think we do keep on talking about academia and industry gap, but on policy level and on ground level, there is much needs to be done. So besides having your regular faculty members or regular academicians, but we would also need a lot of professors of practice, which is a concept which is still very nascent in India, and it should come forward so that we have more hands-on training, more vocational training, and probably webinars, seminars, where actually you have your curriculum designed in consultation with the industry experts. So I think that is what, there is a need for dialogue and there is a need for action to happen on this.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's very aptly put. In our country, we have a lot of PhDs, a lot of highly educated people who are not necessarily very practically oriented, because that is not there in the system. In our country, the brightest students go for medicine and engineering. I think that is still there. And the people going for who study physics and mathematics and chemistry and subjects like that are not necessarily the brightest. I've seen abroad in the Western world, it's the brightest people who go for the basic sciences, and the people who are more practically oriented, they go for the engineering studies and things like that. We have a reverse situation here in India. I think that needs to be corrected, and that has to come from, as well as we as a society, we need to evolve and recognize that practical degrees and things like that are more valuable at times. And we also have to have the infrastructure. But we have another question here. Mabani Jami, would you like to ask a question? I'm putting you. I've unmuted you. If you have a question, please go ahead. You had raised your hand. You do not have a question? Well, I guess no. So in that case, I think we have come to the end of questions.
Mr. Chakraborty?
Yes.
I would just like to point out one small issue which has come up. Dr. Asrani was talking about this university academia industry relationship. That is something which is not very new, and we have talked about this for last decade or so, more than that. Now here comes one important junction. Now there is something called CSR, which many companies do practice. Now, with that CSR, if the companies particularly they collaborate with universities, and here after this COVID-19, Professor Satyadev Podrar was telling about bridging the gap, internet and other material distribution. Now, it's very possible for small universities like MBB who are having 600, 700, 800 students. But big universities who are having like 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 students, there these companies can come not only in terms of bridging the digital gap, but also ways and means to plan for future. And that's where this academia and industry relationship can start off in a new dimension. And then PhD students and other, whatever Dr. Asrani was talking about, those things can also take off in a different level. In fact, I was in Indian Information Service. I have been in a kind of industry as far as media education is concerned. And after coming to classroom from a newsroom, I have really suffered psychologically and otherwise for this gap between the industry and the academy. So, I think the companies have certain things to take the first step, and FICCI can actually play a lead role in organizing this. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Shukla.
Mr. Vishwajit,
Yes,
I want to just to add to it regarding this. Actually, if I say very good example like how BCPL has collaborated with Dibrugarh University since last 2 years, but unfortunate to say the two things we have found the problem. One is like it is just a collaboration, but they're like when university being approached, they are saying that they don't have the right to change the curriculum or don't do anything with it because it is guided by UGC regulation. Secondly, when we propose for the industry related projects, then the question is like how it will be helpful for them to gain this degree because their norms and protocols for preparation of the PhD thesis and everything is different. So what we did is that we just tried to collaborate with the Prime Minister Fellowship Program just launched few days back, few days back, yes. So based on that, there's very clear guidelines given by the Prime Minister because of this situation only that now the students, research scholars who will be undergoing any research with the industries, they will get a stipend of 75,000 rupees per month for which 40% will be shared by the industry and 60% will be shared by the university, funded by the government. So that is the bridge. Now government is also understanding that just by saying that industry academy interfacing, things are not happening because there are many protocols, many bottlenecks due to UGC or AICT or something, and industry has their own protocols as per the ministry guideline. To bridge the gap, I think the Prime Minister has done a very good thing. He has launched this. For this, actually, we are undergoing, we have taken some 4-5 research scholars to work on AI and ML. They are from mathematics department, and we have just started this. Let's see what the progress. But I think this will be a progress which Dr. Savi has told, professor of practice, which for one from industry, one from academia. That way only, I think the situation will improve if we are really working or really have the intent to work on it. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I think that is yeah. I think it's important that we take education, academia, and industry out of these silos that they exist in. I mean, as of now, our educational structure does not permit too much of innovation and all that. You have to follow a set curriculum and all. I think that needs to change. We need to be dynamic. But I think we have a few more questions. We're absolutely running out of time. But a couple of questions. Mr. Krishanu Bhattacharya, I think you have a question. Please go ahead quickly. Mr. Bhattacharya, are you there? No. you had raised your hand. Then, Mr. Bhattacharya, do you have a question? Krishanu Bhattacharya? No. Mr. Ashok Sambaji, you have a question. I've unmuted you. Please go ahead. No, do not think so. So I think we have come to the end of questions. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining and for your time. I think it was wonderful, a very good interaction. We'll absolutely look forward to continuing this interaction. Maybe not in this format, maybe in some other format, but we definitely need to look at carrying forward the format. Professor Charvak, you mentioned about the role that FICCI needs to play. Yes, we are doing that with a number of institutions. And recently from the Assam University, I think the Department of Business Administration was in touch with us. They wanted to collaborate, and we are working on that. Hopefully, we'll be doing something soon with the Assam University also. And I think the points mentioned by Dr. Pranjal Fukan are also very relevant in the sense that I think industry now, instead of just helping in curriculum design and things like that, I think it's time we look at innovative ways of bringing in industry requirements into academia. How do we get people to search for industry, not just for academic purposes? I think that is very important, and that is what is going to take us to the next level of development, and maybe a novel or two the years to come. On that note, I thank you all again. Thank you very much for joining. We look forward to interacting in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Biswajit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Biswajit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Biswajit
so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.